Not live yet.
I know. Now we are. Hey, everyone. We're back. Really? I know the lights in here. My lights in here are all messed up. My whole office has got totally screwed up. I haven't really got it set up since I went on vacation, so it's sort of just using like crazy lighting and everything like that. But as you can see, I'm back in my office, which has been really nice because I haven't been here for 2 weeks. And it's so much easier to do podcasts from here than it is anywhere else.
As opposed to other rooms in the house.
Yeah, I know, just as opposed to other rooms in other people's houses and other places and all kinds of crazy things that have gone on, It's been nuts. So, but no, I'm happy to be back. And we're joined today by the lovely Jillian, whose latest video you have to check out for sure on YouTube. It shows a little bit of Mike and I playing outdoor bubble hockey.
Oh yeah, I still haven't looked at that.
Yeah, that's my reaction to me playing slot hockey with a dress shirt and a pair of slacks. It looked really cool in that one.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
It was wasn't it like much more awkward than you guys expected?
Way more awkward. Yeah, I mean, in so many ways.
I almost bruised my solar plexus with that stupid stick because you're trying to handle it like a regular stick, and then you get stuck, and it hit me in the chest a couple times. It was like,
Oh yeah, I mean, it was an interesting idea. You go into this giant tube, and basically like a big bouncy house, and you're in there, and they have a full-fledged bubble hockey setup for people, like where you actually get the sticks and you control the sticks, and But bubble hockey players, if you remember right, this is the difference. Bubble hockey players rotate on an axis, right? So they rotate, where we as people don't rotate on axes, and or axi, and yeah. So it was really, you have to actually spin around the stick to do it. Which makes it all more complicated, but it was still a blast, and the video is hilarious, really, really hilarious, and I thought summed up the World Cup perfectly, to be honest.
I thought so as well. I thought it was a good look of everything. We talk about a lot what happens during the games, but part of the experience is everything else that goes on that we may not see on TV.
Oh yeah.
So the only thing I said I wish is that the fan village was closer. I think that would have made it way more fun if it was like, imagine if we did that right next to the stadium. That would have been so much more fun. It
would have been a totally different world. And yeah, I mean, and I agree. And that was the thing that got to me too. And the fan village, I think, it's a good idea, but it wasn't executed right. And usually they do. Actually, the NHL is usually pretty good with their fan villages. Usually they are very
Stadium
close.
Series and like the Stadium Series, the Winter Classic, all of those games, they have these great little things literally right next to the stadium. Right. So that's why it was really weird that it was and they provided shuttle buses, which was cool. Wasn't marketed very well. Most people had no idea they existed.
Right.
How far into the World Cup video is the game?
I think it's like 2 minutes and
you don't want to watch it.
I do.
No, he wants to watch it
right now. I brought it up. Here we go. So
okay.
This is from Jillian.
I'm dying to watch this.
Yes, this is so if you can see, this is me over here in this in my stereotypical plaid shirt, right? Here we go. So you can watch it here. So this is that's me trying to spin around on this thing, and it was just I was at center ice. This is there's Mike, there's Mr. Ogello, deftly spinning around. There's Mrs. Fisher in the corner there.
There's you, Ek. What did you do when you went back? Like right here, what did you do?
Oh, I was trying to play goal because there, I didn't know there was any goalie because there, what I didn't see was that your lovely man buddy, he's behind me there. You can't see him, but he's behind me for a second there. So when I go back in the goal here, I was trying to move the goalie, but there actually was outside the ring.
But there was a goalie. Like, why did you try and?
There's a guy outside there who could turn it like that.
Don't you think that the guy turning the goalie was better than if you tried to be the goalie?
I didn't know there was somebody out there. You see,
I didn't know there was either. I had no idea until literally just now. I had no idea.
Yeah, no, your guy was out there, and so whenever they hold the goalie, he's like, "Hey," and he's like turning the wheel like this.
So was Jonathan messing with you?
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome.
And it looked like Mike had like Sam Morin's stick. It was great.
Yeah, those sticks are all like, kind of like,
well, the other problem was they lost one of the sticks, so it was 3-on-3 3-on-2 or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
or they didn't have the full set. There was the day before
there was some
power
play. I get it. Okay.
Yeah, and then there was the day before. I guess it was leaking inside there, so it was raining the whole day. So people were going in there and like slipping all over the place and everything. So
of course, an enclosed space like that is a great thing for mold, right? So there you have.
It was so hot in there.
That's the thing that you don't realize. Like when you're watching this, like you can see Jillian's a little bit hot here. She's looking. Oh, that's a great pause. Sorry, Jill, but that's like
I have no shame. So
that's your. This is so hot, and this is 1,000 degrees.
She's wearing a sweater, like she.
I'm wearing.
It was a short sleeve one. It was
I'm wearing long pants because I just came from the.
I have enough shame for all of you.
Yeah.
I came right from the press conference. Mike is wearing a sweater. Yes.
Yeah.
Time to wear a sweater. And
let's specify here. I didn't. First of all, I thought it was a bubble hockey tournament, meaning we were going to be playing bubble hockey.
Actually, so did I.
Bubble.
Wait, but let's specify even more. Mike, you went in on net and you passed the puck back instead of trying to
It was really hard to move it. It was really, really hard to do anything with that puck.
But he hit it backwards. Kick it in.
Trying to get it to Jill. I think he was trying to get it to Jillian on that play.
The thing had no range. I could not get the puck on my stick.
It was really hard.
But I agree with Russ. I want to watch this for a second. We have to analyze this for 1 second because this is. I want to watch this carefully.
And he went backwards with it.
Can we go to the team preview, please?
No, here we go. So hold on.
I don't want to be criticized.
Whoa. We went to it. Sorry, I went to crazy world there. Hold on. All right, so I know. Suddenly did that dream within a dream spot there. All right, so here we go. So here's Mike. Okay, this is Mike when he gets the puck.
Right.
Okay, so this is I'm gonna slow motion this, of course, because we have to. So.
Oh yeah, I sped it up.
Now this is the face-off. Now these are strangers who just play with us. Now you can see there he passes it right away to Jillian, which is good. Right. Jillian there, holding the stick like
yeah.
Look at how your hand is. You're like.
I'm holding it like a.
You're like this. You're like ah.
Yeah. I know. It was really hard.
I know. It was good. You're like so Mike continues on here, and so he continues on. Right there, Jillian makes a nice little shot. The guy makes a hefty save, but now Mike's getting in place for the rebound here.
Mike's right there for the rebound.
Right there for the rebound. He's got to bury it right there. He's got the whole net.
Put it in, and he puts it backwards.
Because in Mike's defense, there's no way to move that. Like you can't lift the stick up. You have to put it on the ground.
Yeah, it only spins.
You can't move the stick.
The only way to spin it is actually twirling.
You'd have to go around the other way. Yeah,
which would run him into the crossbar because he tried to.
You look like more of an ass. I mean, come on.
I don't know if more of an ass is a good way of putting it, but okay. So then Mike does dump it in the corner. I want you to note here though, before he does that.
I was doing my homage to Tanner Glass. Okay, Russ.
Right, so if you watch it on fast motion, it changes things a little bit. So, all right. So right here, I want you to notice over here that this is me, and this red stick's me over here. I'm in position for the feed, Jillian. I'm ready to go.
My bad.
Anyway, there you have it. So let's get out of here.
Yeah, thank God.
All right. Stop, man. I'm in a Google loop. All right, there we go. All right. Let's fix this camera a little bit. Down like that. Here we go.
That was pretty awesome.
Yes. There we go. All right.
Yes.
And let's begin.
That's what you guys all missed by not going to World Cup of Hockey is you missed us making fools of ourselves. So it's really
fantastic. And by the way, Jillian, how do you have like your latest, you did what the hell? You're like an Instagram superstar right now. Like I go on there today and your latest post on Instagram has 550 likes.
My one in Chicago has 700 with 100 comments, and I don't understand. But so like the video I have, it's 557 views, and I have 552 on one. I don't know. That's why I like Instagram. I'm able to.
Yeah, you're rocking Instagram. That's for sure.
I connect with people on it. To me, it makes the most sense. I love Twitter for lots of reasons, but I also love Instagram. It gives me more freedom.
Yeah, no, and Instagram is like my daughter always says, when we post things on Facebook, she's like, you guys are so old to put things on Facebook, for crying out loud.
But also, did you like that Did you see the video?
Yeah.
God, I love those moments. I love when you capture that moment perfectly too.
No, it's great. It's a goal in soccer. It was really neat. Yeah. I mean, yeah, you gotta check it out. So Fisher Jillian it's at Fisher Jillian, even though it's Jillian Fisher. So Fisher Jillian.
It's because somebody else took my name.
Yeah. Yeah, we're trying to off them.
Caught Mike in his natural habitat. That's worth it just right there.
I know, right?
In a giant bubble hockey game?
Yes.
That's Mike's natural habitat?
Yep.
Some people say
that's why there's not a lot of Mikes. Because there aren't a lot of those big giant bubble hockey games for Mike's to dwell in. All right, let's begin. It's the 4th of October. Holy hell. Okay. The bell's back. Hello, Hockey World. It's Tuesday, October 4th, 2016.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Jillian Fisher.
I'm Russ Cohen of Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund, and you're watching Hockeybuzzcast on Hockeybuzz.com. Woo!
Are you all right, Russ? You sounded very sad just then.
Oh, no, I'm good. I'm
Okay. Was it just me, or didn't Russ sound a little bit like sad about something?
Russ is not bringing his normal joie de vivre, so to speak.
Give it a moment. I'm good.
You need your normal energy, you know. Just not quite there.
Not quite there. Okay.
It's really not working for me at home. All right, we have it. So all right, let's get to it. We have a lot to do today. So we're gonna preview 3 hockey teams from the NHL, and that's what we decided.
I like how you said from the NHL. Like, what other hockey teams will we be previewing right now?
Yeah, I was gonna say, are we gonna preview Avgard?
It's been a long summer, you know. We were close. We're getting close to previewing men's hockey league teams soon if this season hadn't started. Yeah, this is where we are. We're gonna start with the Flyers. We're gonna do the Penguins, and we're gonna do the Capitals because that is the order that they finished from worst to best. And although that's debatable, I guess, with the Capitals and Penguins. So, but so I went yesterday. If you didn't get a chance to see it, and even if you did, Russ and Mike did a preview of the Rangers and the Sabres. So check that out yesterday. And we're going to be doing 2 or 3 a day to try to get this done in time for the regular season. And then, of course, we have our, we got to do predictions and all kinds of stuff.
What you guys missed also on the pregame, I destroyed my New York Jets hat. I did.
Oh, no. What'd you do to it?
I ripped it apart.
Were you pissed the Jets? Is that what happened? Oh, okay. That's fair. They're a nice dumpster fire, too, right now, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other way to describe it other than a dumpster fire.
That's the way.
I mean, I usually don't like to use that because I think
Jillian
that dumpster fire gets overused, and they're a dumpster fire.
Yeah,
Hashtag Jillian smack talk. I like it.
She's right.
There may be a lot of the Toronto Blue Jays hats being ripped tomorrow if the result of a certain game tonight happens.
Oh, so what's up with the baseball? Are they with that that sport of baseball?
Yeah, wild card games tonight and tomorrow in Toronto.
Oh, but the Blue Jays made the playoffs.
Blue Jays
made the playoffs.
Oh, you see, though, that's surprising to me because the funniest thing about this because I barely pay attention to baseball at all. So the last night I was in Toronto, of course, they lost a really important game.
Yeah,
like 4-0. So it looked like things looked grim.
It did look grim.
Fortunately for them, there was a team that was a bigger loser, and that was the Detroit Tigers, who lost 2 games to the worst team in baseball, the Atlanta Braves.
So they kind of backed in, you're saying?
They won their last 2 games against Boston, so they didn't back in. But they
got help.
They got help. They got a lot of help.
Well, it's good. When you need help, you should go to the Red Sox.
Jillian will have the Met game on tomorrow night. I know she will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know if I have much choice in that matter.
No,
right
you have
now.
no choice.
So the wild card game is tonight. They start tonight, and then of course tonight is also the vice presidential debate in the United States of America.
Okay,
so definitely baseball game.
Yeah. Although both those guys will probably be president within a couple weeks. Or one of them will be. So you might want to watch the vice presidential debate. It's a good chance.
Uh-oh.
Can I? Is that me?
Yeah, we're okay now, but it was
right.
Blinked up or something.
It was a big glitch.
I should be all right. So
yeah,
can I go into one little rant? I'm sorry, I gotta then we'll start right at the praise, I promise. But I gotta rant on the Toronto friggin' airport, okay? Because
I know, right? Oh my god.
Jillian, is there anything like it? I mean,
you know what? Canada, get a real airport for real. This is insane. It took me 45 minutes to get out of there.
Oh yeah, no.
Because I had to get escorted out. Oh my god. No, I'm not. I can't. You gotta go. I'll go.
You actually went through the whole process and then got out. So there's 2 different experiences in Toronto. And if this is a public service message. If you're ever flying to Toronto and you fly American Airlines, okay, that's what you did, Jillian, right? Yep. Which was, you're going to say was horrible. I'm going to tell you was a wonderful experience compared to the alternative. All right. So there's 2 terminals in Toronto. There's Toronto 2 and Terminal 1, right? Yep. Terminal 2 is where American Airlines is, and it's a small terminal. There's only a few airlines that fly out of there, and the process of getting checked in, moving your bags through, going through customs and all that stuff is very, very easy. I mean, it takes you get through there in less than an hour easily, and I'd say that's good.
Yeah.
All right, so I got I had 3 hours. Okay, so I was flying the other one. So I flew out of United, which I'm supposed to, right? United. I said I'll fly out of United because everyone said don't fly Air Canada, no matter what. Don't fly Air Canada. Okay, so in America they say don't fly United. so basically they belong together. So I'm going in. So I get in my line. I wait in line to check into United. I go through my thing. I can't check. I can't. All the automatic things are broken. So I had to go to an actual line. So wait in the line. I get the front of the line. I give them my confirmation number. They say no, you're not allowed to check in here. Your flight is with Air Canada. I said, yeah, but I have a United Airline confirmation number. And they say, I know it looks like that, but it's not. It's really that's service through Air Canada. I'm like, okay, that's fine. So Air Canada's line was unbelievable. So I'd already wasted 30 minutes there. Like, go to Air Canada's line. I put in my confirmation number because fortunately they have kiosks that are working, and we don't recognize your kiosk. We don't recognize your confirmation number. I'm like, but they just told me over there it was definitely working. So I go to the woman. I'm like, my confirmation number is working. United just sent me. Oh, well, your United confirmation number? Then you can't do the kiosk. I'm like, what the frig? All right. So then I wait in line, and I wait in line, and I wait in line, and I've got a couple bags because I bring a whole dog and pony show with me wherever I go. So I've got like big stuff with me, and I get to the front of the line. Now, I arrived at 5:30 a.m. for an 8:30 flight, thinking that would be fine. So I'm waiting in line, and I get to the front of the line, and now I'm already stressed because now it's 7 o'clock. I've already wasted an hour and a half in this thing. By the time I get to check, I still have an hour and a half to get to the thing. So I give them my credit card. Like, oh, we're sorry. The credit card machines are currently down. And I'm like, great, my bags are free, I guess, right? And they're like, no, you need cash.
What?
I'm like, I need like $100 in cash because I had like 3 bags. I don't have. I got rid of all of my cash, and so she's like, well, no, I'm sorry, you're gonna have to get cash somewhere. I'm like, where can I get cash? So she said, well, there's one of those exchange places. You go there and give them your credit card, and they're gonna take like 20% of my money, right? So I'm gonna go. But I have no choice. I'm stuck. So I'm like, I'm coming right back here, right? Like she's like, yeah, I've got your stuff all printed out. So I run to the exchange place, but I have to bring my bags with me, 3 big bags. I get to the exchange place. I give her my credit card. She gives me $300 in American, and because I need $300. Just get $300 American. No, I don't need I don't need American money. I need Canadian money. Oh, well then change that in. I'm like, wait a second. So because she took a percentage off of me getting the American, then a percentage for me to change my American into Canadian. Now I'm down like easily 35%. But I can't. It doesn't matter because I'm starting to panic. I'm getting to that point. It gets like 7:15. My flights. I haven't gone through.
Oh my God.
Security yet. I haven't gone through customs yet. All right. So I'm like, okay. So I get back there. I run back with my money. I give her my money, and she's like, "Oh, I need you to take you to the cashier because we don't take cash at this particular stand."
Oh my God.
And I'm like, "But that doesn't make any sense. You just told me to go get cash." I know. So she waits in line with me at the cashier behind 4 people that are at the cashier, and I'm like, so I'm waiting with a service agent. So now there's only 5 service agents helping 500 people. I've got one of them with me now for the next 20 minutes while we wait there to get it. And she's like, I don't need a receipt. How much is it? 120. She's $120 exactly. I don't need a receipt. She's like, well, you have to give a receipt. You just can't give me cash. I'm like, I can give you cash, and I've got to go. I don't need a receipt here. So finally, she says, fine. She says, run to your flight. So I'm running, the whole thing. I've just got my one bag now.
You're that person in the airport.
I know, the running person in the airport. So I get to the security line, and it is a nightmare. So I go up to the person, and I'm like, dear Canadian, can I please go through the priority right now? My flight leaves in less than an hour. I haven't gone through customs. I've been here for 2 hours trying to get through there. And she's like, no, you cannot. And there's a woman in front of me that's looking very annoyed, like, what are you trying to do? What are you trying to do? So I'm like, you cannot. So I walk through. I'm getting closer to the front, and I get to another person, and I said, and I see they're pulling people out of line to get on their flights. I'm like, I need to be one of those people because my flight leaves. She's like, no, you can't. And the woman's like, huh. I realized the woman who's in front of me, hockey writer that you guys know that doesn't like me.
Oh, no.
Okay, who's from the Western team, let's just say, who's older.
I know.
She is in front of me, and she hates me already. So she's looking at me like now I'm the guy trying to get through, and I'm standing in line with her. So that was horrible. I get through security. They get to the point where they're panicking. They're not even checking your passport or boarding pass at the Canadian airport. They're just sending us through to the security line. Like you're waving, you're like holding up a passport that you could have made in a second, and they're waving people through. Go. Get through security. Then I get to customs, and I'm like there. I'm like again. I'm 30 minutes to the flight. I get to customs. I'm panicking. I get to customs, and again, I'm standing right with the woman who loves me. So I'm standing with her in customs, waiting to go through that line. They put me through a better line there, but the priority line, which is her line. So she's all mad at me. So I'm in the priority line. I get through customs, and then you get to the thing where, you don't want to, with a customs guy, you don't want to look like you're in a panic, like you're panicked, or I'm sweating. I'm ridiculous. I'm in a total panic, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's going to detain me because I look like a criminal trying to get back into the country. Finally, they wave me through. I run to my flight. I hear them calling my name, the whole typical thing. And the last thing is, I have a history of, like, my gate is F82, and I see gates F28 to F82 to the right. I'm like, oh, wonderful. So I'm like, the last gate from 28 to 82. That's 60 gates. This is where God looked out for me, and that's exactly right, Mike. This is Mike, guess the person. This is where God was looking out for me, and actually, for whatever reason, it started at 82 and went down to 26. So I get there just in time. They're closing the doors. I run through. I sit on my thing. I get on the flight, which was overbooked, but only half full because people couldn't get through. It was just there. Then they just let the flight take off, and I'm like, what's gonna happen?
That sounds about right for Toronto. Yeah.
This is why I drive.
Let me tell you, Ak, and I know many reporters. I know many people who live in southern Ontario. When they're going to American destinations, what they do is they rent a car and they drive to Buffalo.
Yep.
I've done that before.
I've done that too. Yep.
In the future,
I've done that before, and it's Baltimore to Buffalo is a cheap flight. I've done that flight, and I just, oh man, I
just drive. I don't even deal with it. I tried to go to Edmonton one time for the Heritage Classic, and I literally made my connecting flight by like a half a minute. So I never do it. That airport stinks.
The worst part about it is one of the terminals doesn't connect. Like the terminal I was in, it doesn't connect, and once you get in, you literally cannot leave. Like you can't. Like, so my flight got canceled to the next morning, and I was like, I want to leave, and they're like, well. And so I asked about 5 different people, like, you got to go see an agent. And I'm like, I had to wait 45 minutes for an agent to get there. Yeah. So it was and I had another problem with the gates. They had like gate 9A, but like there's 9A, A, B, C, D. And I'm like, why do you have 4 gates under the gate 9A? What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. Always fly American to Toronto. That's all I can say. Because I mean, it's like there's no comparison. I compared flying American to riding horse and flying Air Canada to being eaten by horses. That was the best way I could compare the experience. It was like, I felt like, anyway, that's how I looked at it. All right, starting the show. I apologize. I just had to get off my chest and put that public service announcement out there for you guys, because it was insane. And I know a lot of you visit Toronto, which is a wonderful city, and I had the greatest time there in the world. But that's that. All right, let's start with our previews, and let's start with those Philadelphia Flyers, because they are one of the most talked about teams right now on the Hockey Buzz for sure. Not just because we have a lot of Flyers fans, but because it's a very interesting preseason that we're seeing right now from them. Interesting prospects.
Excuse me.
Bless you, Mike.
No, we won't excuse you.
I had all intentions to get down there on Monday night because, of course, I forgot while I was away that Monday night was Rosh Hashanah with my wife's Jewish, so I wasn't there last night. But yes,
you're saying I'm a bad Jew because I was there. Is that what you're implying?
No, you're just not. You're just married to a bad Jew, I guess. Because I'm just kidding. No, that's not it at all. No, I just think that I had to stay. I've been away for a couple weeks and I had to be there. So I was there. And meanwhile, I was checking out the game, which apparently was pretty exciting. Pretty good Flyers game. Flyers-Rangers game last night. Voracek scored a highlight goal. You get a chance to watch it.
He did.
To win that game. And Voracek looks like he's looks pretty good for the first couple games this season, which is nice. That's a big deal. If he's better, this team's outlook looks a lot better.
Well, the Flyers last year were 41, 27, 6 and 8. Made the playoffs on it was the last day, I believe, and then gave Washington a run for their money. I mean, why don't we just go?
They did. Okay, so I've got a bunch of things here. First of all, their Stanley Cup odds for the Philadelphia Flyers are 28-1. Okay, so if you're just curious, I'm going to throw that out there. I got these for my teams when I was doing this. Their key additions are really light when you consider like the actual free agents that they went after. Dale Weiss and Boyd Gordon. Dale Weiss has more of a chance of making an impact on this team. And is kind of one of those underrated players. If I was to compare him to somebody from the Flyers past, I would compare him to Sean Podine. How about that? I'll throw that out there. As a player who has scoring potential, has some abilities, and does seem to have like a little bit of toughness to him. Is that a fair comparison, Russ?
Yeah, I think it is fair. I think Podine was a better offensive player, and Weiss is a little tougher, but it's pretty close. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's and I think that there were a lot of Podine fans. Podine was a great guy, obviously. Did a lot of cool charity things while he was here. Departures. Medvedev, we really barely knew him anyway. He was an enigma wrapped in a something. Ryan White, which is a huge loss because Ryan White, honestly, this will be the big debate here if they should have kept Ryan White or signed Dale Weiss as the year goes on, because Ryan White,
I don't think it'll be
you don't think so? You think they made the right move there, Russ?
Yes.
I don't know. Not sure. Because Ryan White was at times he showed a real scoring ability. Calgary fans know him from before, of course, in Calgary, and people literally like Ryan White. He
scored a few goals here and there. He definitely had toughness. He was one of the few that went to the net, but Weiss will do that too, and he'll score more.
Yeah.
It depends on what Dale Weiss you're getting. If it's the Dale Weiss from Montreal who contributed, then there's no question who the better of the two is. If it's the Dale Weiss that played in Chicago and hardly made a splash at all, then you might be missing White.
Yeah, but was that really his fault? In Chicago,
it was where they put him.
I think they brought him into Chicago thinking, if we have injuries, you're going to help us out, and they didn't have the injuries, and they didn't go far in the playoffs, so that's where it ended. They're used to going 4 rounds and needing extra guys, and that's what he was brought in to do in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
So the key points of this season are obviously, the Flyers, like we said, barely made the playoffs last year, and they're in a Metro division that has gotten better all around them as well. And of course, the actual key additions are the question marks of whether or not the Flyers are going to keep their 2 superstar young players in, right? In that they've got, Provorov and Konechny are making quite a splash in camp, as was expected. And so Provorov is obviously a defenseman. Konechny was the guy they traded up for, both from the first round last year, both stud players. Konechny, very similar in some ways to if I always tell Flyers fans around here, if you like Claude Giroux, you're going to like Konechny. He's very similar to him in some ways, but just a little bit more feisty maybe than Giroux at times. Not quite the passer that Giroux is, but maybe a better scorer than Giroux. So it's hard to. That's at least what I get.
I wouldn't say that yet. I wouldn't.
Okay. Yeah. But very exciting players, and both these guys are the keys. There are some other guys that that might be a factor too. And then finally, the thing I'll say is the goaltending, which is for Philadelphia is going to be fascinating because you have both goalies are not signed next year. Both goalies are playing for contracts, and as good as Mason has looked, Neuwirth was amazing last year at the end of the year and in the playoffs. So, but
Neuwirth hasn't played a full more than 48 games since 2010 or 2011. Right. So I mean, when you stretch him out for a full season, who knows what's going to happen? So, but the one thing the Flyers fans can rejoice in is that they really don't have to worry about their goaltending for the season. It should be okay. They shouldn't have to worry about having an interesting goalie or a goalie that you can't always count on. One of those two should always be there.
Which of course has always been a problem in Philadelphia for those who in Jillian's entire lifetime, and for those of us
entire life.
But I mean, and ironically, when I was a kid, was the Flyers' strength too for years and years and years. They had great goalies, but that stopped quickly around 1987. So.
Neuwirth is the prototypical 1B goaltender. He's good. Yeah. He can play 30 games, 35 games, no problem, if the starter is not a guy who can play 60. But if you go to him as a number 1, as it has been shown in the past when he was number 1 in Washington for a time, he really didn't thrive. So I think the role that he's in right now is fine, and the tandem that you have is good there. Mm-hmm. But right now, what you have is a situation where, their offense is the same. I think the key to that team is their defense, and is whether Provorov makes the team, whether Sanheim makes the team, whether they can get as much out of Streit and McDonald this year as they did at the end of last year.
Well, here's what I can tell you. I've seen every preseason game pretty much. Maybe I missed one on television. Streit, he looked good in the World Cup for like a week, and then he didn't look good. And he hasn't played in the preseason. Maybe he played a game, I'm not sure, but I haven't seen him live.
Yeah.
I'm a little worried about Mark Streit. Yes, can he handle the power play? Sure, but I'm not sure he should play the top power play for long. I'd probably have Gostisbehere on the top power play and put him on the second, but I think they're going to have to transition into that, so that's going to take a little bit.
I agree.
We are going to be again, Nick Schultz. What is Nick Schultz now? I don't know.
He's
Where's
a big
he
league.
gonna-
It's kind of like Gudis or Schultz. It feels like you need one of them and not both of them. Like to
Right.
me, it feels like you need one of them for sure to have like a veteran defensive guy who's going to be
Yes.
in there. And I mean, Gudis gets suspended / hurt a lot. Schultz is such a great character guy. Like he could easily be a captain on this team. He's really one of those. He's really admired that much by the players on the team. So I think that's a little bit of the issue. I think that they would love to move Strite, and they've tried to move Strite. Whether or not, and I think even now, I think now they're looking at it still because of the maybe the World Cup of Hockey raised its value a little bit. I don't know.
This is what's blocking Provorov. But the thing is, like even the hit last night, since VC came right back into the game, Gudis isn't going to get a suspension. So the fact that he won't get a suspension doesn't help out doesn't help out Provorov, doesn't help out Morin. I'm pretty sure Morin's going to get sent down. We all saw a few gaffes last night that are going to happen if he stays at the NHL level. He's not ready yet. Provorov is really close. I mean, he looks great in the preseason. I haven't seen any problems with him. I like what I've seen. The shots get through, pucks get to the net. That's all that matters with him. He's strong. Yeah. He makes smart passes, good passes, but they have contract problems. And so Andy McDonald has looked good. Are you going to put him back in the A? No, you're not. Are you going to sit Gudis or Schultz or trade one of them? I guess they'll try. But the end of the day, Provorov has to play a top 4 to really get his minutes, unless they're going to have a special exception where they put him at the 5, but he plays more minutes than Gudis and more minutes than Schultz. If he doesn't, you're sort of wasting him. And that's what Hextall's struggling with.
And they tried a little bit in the preseason, right? They tried. They gave Provorov almost 30 minutes one game, I think, just to see what he could do in that kind of situation. And he looked great in that situation. He looks like a guy who can play the entire game. He's got that thing going on.
Well, the situation with Provorov in Philadelphia is the same that's going on in Toronto with Mitch Marner. If they play if Provorov's in the top 4 and he's productive and he can handle it, and he's an amazing talent, then you burn the first year of the deal. That's fine. He's bettering your team, just like with Marner. If he's on the top 6 in Toronto, fine. But if he's playing third line in Toronto, if he's playing fourth line, and Provorov's on the bottom pairing, why waste a year of entry level when you can have them go back to junior, play another year, gain a little experience, get stronger, and come back the next year and probably be a better pro next year? So I think that's the dilemma for Ron Hextall and the dilemma for Lou Lamoriello in Toronto.
It's tough. I mean, I think when the one thing you have to remember about this team last year is the simple fact that during the regular season, in the beginning of the year, they were horrible. They had the first 10 games. They had like 1 or 2 wins.
They were really bad. They were really bad to like November.
Yeah, which corresponded with the arrival of Shane Gostisbehere, which helped them a lot. Crazy echo. Sorry, guys. Trying to get the 6. I don't know how to fix it. Let me just.
I was gonna say I'm not hearing any echo. Are you guys?
I am. Yeah.
Can you guys all mute yourself for a second, just for 1 second, so I can see if that works? Maybe and unmute. It was coming from you, Jillian, apparently. So even though you're not hearing it, you're creating it. It's very Matrix of you. Okay, you're okay now. It's all right. I think that helped. All right, so keep yourself muted for 1 second, Jill. So and then I'm going to ask you a question actually, because here's the thing. From the point Gostisbehere arrived last year, if you were to look at the record at that point, the Flyers were like the second best record in the NHL. They had a great season after that. So from mid-November on, they were a very good team and much better than people expected. This is a team though that they didn't want to bring Gostisbehere up last year. They wanted to wait and let him play in the AHL. He's a sort of a different case because what you saw with him was that he didn't blow the AHL away, but when you put him with talented players, he was much better.
He was older too, though.
He's older too, and that plays into it too. Provorov, I think, is different than Marner in a lot of ways because of the fact that he's, first of all, physically just completely ready to play in the NHL, where Marner's smaller. Provorov, I think that's seems to be one of the biggest issues with Marner, is his size. But Provorov doesn't have any issues when it comes to size. And the other thing that people are really forgetting about is Michael Del Zotto, who last year was coming into his own when he got hurt. He was a big factor for them. He and Gostisbehere are very similar players, and they bring, but what you're seeing here, and this is what I wanted to ask you, Jill, is like, I think we're seeing the Flyers' defense is basically being assembled. Gostisbehere, Del Zotto, Provorov, Sanheim, this defense of the future. This is like the Penguins' defense in a lot of ways. Offensive defensemen.
Yeah, I was also going to say I don't think that the Flyers, like, maybe the most interesting thing to watch for them is their defense, but for me the point of concern is their goal scoring and their bottom six. Yeah. To me, that seems to be more interesting. Yeah, I'm excited for the Flyers' defense. I think that if you look at it maybe in a team in 2 years, that's exciting to think about it, because that's been a problem for the Flyers for how long? Really, it's for years now. But when I'm looking at our players, like in the bottom six, we talked about who they got in the offseason. I mean, they're good additions, but are they really, when you compare them to a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins, who have a solid, they run a solid 4 lines. They're nowhere near that in my mind. And yes, they may have a chance to squeak into the playoffs again. I think it can happen. I mean, they need players like Jake Voracek to step it up this year. I mean, he had a lot of problems last year. So I'm more interested in looking at their bottom six and just their goal scoring in general.
So with their bottom six, before we talk about Konechny, Lubomov got on the board yesterday again.
Sorry, what was that? I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
Roman Lubomov got on the board again yesterday, and I think he's a big upgrade to Chris Vandevelde. So I think that change is going to be made. And if that change is made, that's a big change just from a skating standpoint, because Vandevelde can't skate.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I'm also taming expectations, because people forget how rough it was in the beginning of the season. And it's a long season. 82 games is a long time. A lot changes in those games. And I think the problem with the Flyers is right now, they are right on that border of, are they going to be right outside the playoffs or right inside? And that's a horrible spot to be in, because essentially if you're not making it, you're not really helping yourself at all. You're just one spot out, which is like the worst spot to be in the NHL, really.
Well, what you're saying is they're going to be in the same spot as they were last year.
Yeah, their changes they made were so minimal, but that's really all they have to work with because of the mess that was given to Hextall beforehand.
Right.
Sure.
And that's where I think, you're gonna let Streit's contract get out. He's got one more year left this year, and then he's a UFA. I mean, you could see if Philadelphia takes a turn for the worse, and they're say 8 to 10 points out of a playoff spot, you could see them be major sellers at the deadline with guys like Streit and Delzato, because they want to get something for them.
I do want Eck to know, Eck, you did miss one addition, Roman Lubomov, and I think he's going to make it over Vandevelde. That's what we were talking about. I think he's got a little more offense, but he's a much better skater.
Okay.
He's physical too, and I think that was a good addition. So I think that's something where that'll strengthen their bottom line too. So even if they're missing Ryan White, they also have him.
I mean, the thing to remember about the Flyers is that they made the playoffs last year. They were very good, like I said, from November on, and they really had marginal years from their best players. I mean, Giroux and Voracek were very marginal at best last year. If Giroux and Voracek are Giroux and Voracek, and they continue to play at the high level that they played last November, they're a playoff team, no questions asked. They have the ability to do that. The question is whether or not they can keep that. So to me, and I think that, I believe, just from talking to people I've talked to, that Provorov is staying and Konechny isn't. That's my opinion. But I think Konechny might stay for a few games.
Well, I think they both deserve the 9 games. I know Hextall doesn't like it. At the end of the day, I think it's Konechny or Reed. And Vandevelde might get to stay because Lawton's been awful. And so Lawton probably doesn't have a spot on the team the way I see it.
Vandevelde has very much replaced Matt Reed in a lot of ways. And I think that's accurate. And I think they'll give Konechny a chance at this day. And I know Flyers fans are desperate for him to stay. I mean, I get hit the most common question I get right now from everybody who's instant messaging me or whatever they're saying is Konechny and Provorov staying. And Hextall seems like, one person put it really well today. She wrote to me, she's like, Hextall's the only GM in the league who could be pissed off about having 2 great players and 2 great rookies in his training camp. Like, it seems like he's not happy about having these 2 players there. And I think that's, although that is, definitely an overstatement, oversimplification, I think that this is faster than Hextall was prepared to bring them in. Gossipier was faster than he was prepared. And a lot of this is also, remember, the Flyers, it can never be overstated that Ed Snyder's not there anymore matters a lot in what these kind of decisions are. And Ed Snyder was the kind of guy that the newest and latest had to be a part. Like, if Ed Snyder was here, Konechny and Provorov would be here, for sure. But now there's almost I want to say like a reverse psychology thing going, where they're almost saying, we don't have to do that anymore. So we're really going to make sure we get this right, beyond even what they maybe should be doing. But I think that's always the safest way to go. It was more conservatively. So they're going more conservatively, but maybe to a little bit of the extreme, I think. So it's hard to say, but I think that they're going to be a better team than they were last year. I really believe.
I was gonna say, so let's make because we did this, Russ and I did this in terms of, let's make sort of a prediction of what they're. I mean, do you think that? I think they're a team that's going to be in that 8 to 11 range, that they'll either just make the playoffs, or be one of the wild cards, or finish within 6 to 10 points of the playoffs.
No, I don't want to do my predictions yet for my whole thing, but I will say that I'm just going to say whether I think a team's a playoff team or not. And I think that they are a playoff team. I think they're better than you guys are thinking they are. That's my, but I don't know. But
when you look around the league, when you look around in their division and conference, there are teams that are just going to run on them, and that's not. I mean, the Flyers are doing what they can with what they had, and I think they're doing a great job. There's only so much you can do when you have that kind of cap problem, and I think they're handling it pretty well. I mean, I know people are going to start getting antsy, and I think you're going to see that in the middle of the season, where fans are going to be like, "We are so close to being good. Why aren't we good right now?" And I think that's where we're going to start seeing actual problems in the middle of the season. Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're right, Jillian. And last year, I didn't think they were going to make it, and they made it on the last day. If they didn't make it on the last day this year, it wouldn't shock me.
No, it's going to be so close, and I think they're going to be in that really tough position of they might just make it, and they're going to be 1 or maybe 2 spots out, and that's really tough.
Well, let's move on to the next.
You guys know I'm better at predicting this than you are, so let's move on to the Penguins. And no, just kidding. No, obviously last year I was, but we'll talk about that in a year. Anyways,
in a year, we'll talk about that in a year.
The Penguins, the Pittsburgh Penguins had a pretty good year last year. They won the Stanley Cup. That's always a bonus. We'll give them a big star for the winning the Stanley Cup. They had a crazy regular season that was unbelievably up and down. There were points last year that we thought the Penguins were totally lost, and we felt as if, and we on this very podcast, of course, we discussed this at length and said these guys have completely lost it. Right?
Well, it wasn't up and down; it was down then up. Really,
it was totally down.
Well, Bo Bennett, he when I interviewed him at the Stanley Cup media day, he acknowledged that. He said they were down in the dumps, they were completely in trouble. And so what we were saying was accurate, and what was happening was accurate, but then it got turned around.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what happened. And they Mike Sullivan did all the right things, brought in the young players. That was enormous for them. They really had, they had this unbelievable
brought in the young players, but also played, had Sidney Crosby play like Sidney Crosby. Didn't have him, playing sort of not a dump and chase, but more of a puck possession. They had everybody playing sort of a puck possession role, and that was really not what that team was built to do. When you have offensive talent like Kessel, like Malkin, like Crosby, you need to let them fly. You need to let them create. And I think Sullivan sort of let go of the reins a little bit and let them play. And there was a lot of talent there, and I think that was the big thing that happened in the second half of the season. They allowed their players to play, and then they caught lightning in a bottle at the end of the year. And one of the benefits of the Kessel deal was to have him play on a third line and provide matchup problems. And Jim Rutherford deserves a lot of credit for what happened last year, adding Daly, adding Hagelin. And giving and providing matchup problems during the playoffs. So the question is now, what's next for this team?
Yeah, and what is next? I mean, they have lost a couple players. I just lost my notes. I'm trying to find out.
Well, they lost Ben Lovejoy. He went to New Jersey.
Right.
But they have, pretty much, the goaltending situation is the same. But Matt Murray is out for 6 weeks after breaking his thumb during the World Cup. So they're probably very happy that they didn't trade Marc-Andre Fleury, because he's going to probably be a goaltender for at least the first month of the season. But essentially, it's the same team. It really is. I mean, they're going to be depending on a Derek Pouliot to step in into their top 6, and if he doesn't do it now, I don't know when the hell he's ever going to do it, because he is, been seasoning in the AHL for a few years. But this is essentially the same team, and I don't know if it's going to be easy for them to repeat their success, but there's still a lot of talent there.
It's also different trying to repeat that success when you come in as a coach on a team on such a downslide, and then you come in and when you change the culture like that, players respond to it. We see it a lot. That's why sometimes when a coach gets fired and a new one comes in, all the players react usually in a pretty positive way. So coming in and now, he has a full season ahead of him. That's different. That's a little bit different. If any team is looking like they could repeat, I do think it is the Penguins, but that doesn't mean that they should get ready for the parade right now. Like, it's not an easy. The physical and emotional toll of Stanley Cup winning a Stanley Cup is pretty intense. And I think if anything, that's when it's going to start to show, is when you start getting closer to the playoffs and you start getting into these physical series that you have, you're fighting out, 6-7 games. That's when I think it really could come back to them. I think that they're pretty much the same team, and they could repeat. If any, looking at teams around the league and teams that have, that we thought maybe they could repeat, this Penguins team is so similar to what they were before.
Well, it's good talent, it's good planning, but it's also good luck that last year, Letang stayed healthy. Mata, after some problems early in the year, stayed healthy. They didn't have any major injuries, although, Malkin played hurt during the playoffs, supposedly, during the playoffs. So they had their full team there. I mean, expecting Letang to stay healthy through 82 games is a big assumption, because he never has. It was amazing that he stayed together all year last year. And the thing is, if Letang goes down, there's nobody to replace him. He's integral to that team being able to have any kind of success. And we know, he was in the mix for the Norris, and really, if he was out, I don't think that they would have made the Stanley Cup final.
Mike, I have a question for you. So you said it's about luck, or just some things go your way.
Yeah.
If the Penguins didn't have that kind of moment and they didn't come together at the exact right time and play the Washington Capitals when they did, do you think that the Capitals may have finally broken their streak? Do you think they could have gone to the final maybe?
Yeah, because they finally would have slain the beast. That team has always been, that team's always been their problem. Ovechkin could never get by Sidney Crosby. St. Louis could never get past the Blackhawks. Finally, they did. Now they fell short and they lost to San Jose, but they got to the conference final. You have to slay the beast to be able to get past them. And yeah, I mean, I think that if Washington had won after winning the President's Trophy, after Holtby having the great year that he did, after Ovechkin having another 50-goal season, that would have spurred them on to maybe winning their first Stanley Cup, but it didn't happen. So, I mean, we're going to talk about them in a few minutes, but I just think, it is difficult for teams to repeat, and I'm not expecting Pittsburgh to repeat, but I am expecting them to make the playoffs, unless there's a major injury like a Letang or like Crosby or Malkin. If that happens, then they slip 8 to 10 points down in the standings, and they could be in the mix for a playoff spot like Philadelphia is going to be.
I don't see that happening, them slipping there at all. I think that they are really. First of all, you have to think about Crosby is just at the top of his game right now, right? And he's going into the season with more confidence again. He just won another award. He's just won every possible award you can win in hockey. And he's just getting better and better and better. Malkin, I think last year was a big year for Malkin because he had to overcome a lot of personal stuff. There's a lot of personal stuff. Sorry, what's going on there? Stop it. So there was a lot of personal stuff with Malkin that he went through, and I think that he's happy to be a Penguin right now, which is good. He's ready to go. That's big. I mean, their really only key loss I would say would be Lovejoy. And he's not a big loss on defense. They have the players, but he was a good solid player for them, but not the kind of guy you can't reacquire at some point, to help you in a stretch run. That's how I see it. If they need to go get a Lovejoy, they can get a guy like that, right? He's out there.
Yeah, I think their big thing, I mean, Sprong won't even get a chance to play till like December, so
yeah.
They don't really have any additional youth coming in. It's the same guys, which is fine, but you're still going to have to get the same magic out of Kuhnhackl, out of Rust, and out of Connor Sheary. And if you don't, then you kind of wonder. Their defense is okay. I think with the system they play and the guys they have, they'll be fine with that. I don't think it's stellar, but I still think it's, it's bad. It's good, and it's good enough.
I mean, they played with such emotion, and they played on such a high for such. It is not impossible to imagine that couldn't continue.
Well, Murray was a big reason, though, that they had the season they did. Fleury is now going to have to do this from the start, which he's fully capable of, but he's going to have to really do that from the start. And Tristan Jarry's now the backup, and so that's uncharted water. So they're not exactly the same, but they should still be a playoff team. Yes,
I think they're a playoff team. And also, what we don't know what Matt Murray is all about. There are people out there that really think that Matt Murray is the real deal. I mean, in every stretch of the imagination.
I mean, why would we think he isn't at this point?
No, I'm with you. I mean, there is no reason to think he isn't right now. And the way he's looking, he was so good. I really think that his injury along, would have made a big difference in the World Cup of hockey. I think he stays in there. I think they beat Sweden in that game. Yeah. I think, and he really does remind me of Carey Price. I'm watching them in that tournament together. There are so many similarities between the two of them, and it's a high praise to put on him, I know, but he's got that thing that he just calms the team down in front of him, which for the Penguins is exactly opposite of what Marc-Andre Fleury did for them. And that is why he was so good. That's why there was it's as if they got exactly what they've been missing. And it's unfair on Fleury, but it's like when you have a really hard ass coach and you have a really easy coach, you get that bump because you're the easy coach. It just, that change is so drastic between Murray and Fleury that you could see that the Penguins were just like, they just exhaled and started playing hockey. And as much as we talk about Sullivan's rise and how much Sullivan got, the biggest thing may have been Matt Murray. That may have been the biggest thing for the Penguins last year, because it was Matt Murray's goaltending and stability that gave that offense the ability to do what they wanted to do, and that changed everything.
Goaltending is the great equalizer, but I think that Russ's point is pretty apt in the sense that fairy dust was sprinkled on Rust and Kuhnhackl and Sheary, and it was emotional, and it was there was momentum there in the second half of the season and through the playoffs. These guys really didn't show any kind of upside potential to be really successful NHLers. I mean, maybe they would have been. They fit into the construct of that team. But the question is whether that was all just the momentum and just the emotion of last year, or whether they can actually carry that forth for 2, 3, 4 years down the line. That will be the interesting thing, because if they don't, then the bottom six of their lineup, which has been a problem for that organization for years and years, and everybody's zeroing in on Crosby and Malkin, and if you stop them, you stop the Penguins, then that comes right back, because those players helped spread out the offense, spread out the roles that needed to be played. And if that doesn't happen, then it's going to be easier to stop the Penguins.
No, I totally agree. And if there's one team that can stop the Penguins, it would probably be the Washington Capitals. The Caps, last year had a record-breaking season. I mean, they were as good in the regular season as anybody's been for a long time. The addition, obviously, their big thing last year was bringing in Barry Trotz, who was just phenomenal. They adjusted to his system incredibly quickly, and really were just as dominant as you could be in the regular season. And then, of course, ran into the buzzsaw that was the Pittsburgh Penguins. And I think we're suffered a little bit from a pretty physical series against the Flyers before that where they lost a couple of players, and then they couldn't take the Penguins out. They had a lot of departures. Some interesting player. I mean, not huge players, but they lost Chimera, who
I was gonna say that's a pretty big one, though. I would put that in that category. That's of the three teams we've talked about, that's the biggest one.
Yeah, I think Chimera. Yeah, and because he was such a, lack of a better word, jerk. And he really got under teams' skins. And he also could contribute points, but he was really mainly Chimera was really like a nuisance, and that made the Penguins harder to play against, which was one of the things that made the Penguins good last year, because they have not always been a physical, violent, rough team to play against. So you're right. I think you're right. Mike Richards is gone. Michael Lotta's gone. Mike Weber's gone. So they added Lars Eller, who was
that's awesome. Yeah,
that's a big ad, because Lars Eller, people forget, like, he was part of the Halak trade, right? When the St. Louis Blues got Halak from the Canadians, Lars Eller went the other way, and at that point Halak was very valuable. That was like a big player to get. For St. Louis did not want to move Lars Eller. They moved him because they wanted to get Halak very badly. And then in Montreal, Eller was just misplayed all over the map. I mean, in my opinion, and here in Washington, he might really become the player that you expect him to become. He's a big guy. He's a powerful guy. Mike,
he's a guy that, okay, if you put him in a top 6 role, you are misplacing him. He's not a top 6 forward. He's a big forward, as you said. He's a good two-way player. If he's your third-line center or a third-line winger, then Barry Trotz has got him in the right place.
Well, that's what he is. He's their third-line center, and that's how they see him, at least right now, right? So, and he's even playing poorly, he's been putting up 14, 15 goals in general. That's usually and not playing poorly, but just not. I mean, when you can get 15 to 20 goals out of your third-line center, you're happy, and that's what I think they're going to get out of him.
Mm-hmm.
Any ability to jump up, any ability that he does actually has also shown in his career to play better with skilled players, and he didn't have a lot of them to play with in Montreal. So he's got more skilled players to play with here. I think that'll be interesting to see. I'm just watching some previews in the preseason and seeing he's fit in really well with their power play, which has been kind of surprising. But you can see that he's a skilled player, right? So you don't think of him as a power play guy, but maybe he is a power play guy. We just have never seen him on a team that utilized that. So, I mean, they really did make a big point out of the fact that they thought they were slow against the Penguins last year. They thought the Penguins were faster than them, and they really felt like that affected them.
Which is interesting because Chimera had speed. That's the one thing I thought I'm not disagreeing with that he's no longer there and the moves that were made, but it's just, to me, that's the most interesting thing because that's what everyone was harping on was the speed, and Chimera was one of the speedy players that they had.
Well, it's not a crime to admit that Pittsburgh was faster because I think Pittsburgh in the playoffs was the fastest team in the league. I mean,
they were faster than everybody.
I think Washington was an above-average skating team. I just think Pittsburgh with these water bugs like Sherry, and really, I mean, he's a little guy and he flies all over the place. I mean, that provides matchup problems when you have bigger guys like Tom Wilson, and Tom Wilson is a very effective checking guy. But when you have big guys like that sort of lumbering around and you got this little water bug dancing around Sherry, it provides matchup problems.
Well, here's the thing though. So when losing Richards got exploited, right? He was just, anytime he was out there, they just killed that line. So, but right now in camp, they cut Jakub Vrana, who is a small, like a 5'11", really speedy guy with a lot of skill, can score goals. And Zach Sanford, who's a much bigger kind of college guy who's a little slower, has a better chance of making the team. Now, this is the Barry Trotz effect.
Yes.
And so we're going to see what this really does, because I spoke to Vrana about a month ago, and he was hell-bent on making the team. He thought he was going to make the team. He did everything he needed to do. He talked about how his intensity was up, everything, and I think he's losing out because of size, not because of anything else.
And Vrana was very important for Hershey beating the Marlies last year in the Eastern Conference Final. They ended up losing to Lake Erie, but I mean, he was a cog for them offensively, and it looks like a player who's borderline right now to make the NHL. But if they're going the direction of adding more size and being more like Barry Trotz was in Nashville, then I think that's going the wrong direction. If they end up matching up with Pittsburgh again, or a team that has that speed, then they're going in the wrong direction there.
Stanford's 6'4", so.
But Trotz also does. National teams were always very fast too. So Trotz is also about speed. He's not a non-speed guy.
No, I know that, but it just seems like the smaller additions that they're doing now, they're looking for more size. That's all.
And I wouldn't be shocked if we saw Vrana in the NHL a lot this year and actually, see him make an impact. He feels like one of those players that, that we've seen before, who gets cut going into camp, but then suddenly is a majorly important player. Well, not too different like a Gostisbehere last year type player. I could see.
I mean, the one thing you have to realize with this team. I mean, not that they're going to take a step backward after this year, but they brought in Justin Williams to win a Stanley Cup. He's that winning player, the Mr. Game 7. His contract is up after the end of this year. So is TJ Oshie. Carl Alsner, who will probably hit the jackpot in free agency because there are not that many defensemen out there. He's only making less than $3 million, and he's the right age. He probably could make $5 to $6 million in free agency, and probably will. So you're going to have some dilemmas here.
Big time dilemmas.
Right, and they're not going to trade them off because they're going to be in competition for the Stanley Cup. They're going to keep these guys all the way to the end. But the thing is, once you get past this year, Are they going to re-sign Justin Williams? Are they going to bring back Oshie, give him an extension? Are they going to re-up Alzner? I mean, the team will be dramatically different after this season,
especially if they don't win. Like
Right.
the thing was, they said we're coming into the second year of that mark where they said they have 2 years. They have 2 years to win a cup, and after this season, that time is up. And it's true, they have this season, and then if they don't make it this season, then the team is going to look drastically different. One player that I didn't hear anybody mention was Beagle. I thought he did a lot in the series against the Pens. I thought he could have been a third line center, but with Eller, that's not going to happen. But I'm still interested to see how he continues to push forward this season.
It's a great call, because I actually thought last year, we talked about him on the show last year, he's a player that I kind of fell in love with. I think that he's way underrated, and he will take over those like Oshie or Justin Williams eventually. He will be that guy who takes those spots. And he showed some scoring prowess in the playoffs. I think even the year before that, correct? Like he's shown some abilities to be quite the interesting clutch player at clutch times, you know.
And can Brooks Orpik still play in the league? We don't know yet.
Yeah, that's a big if. That's definitely a big if.
And you know, the thing is, if not, then they can put his salary on long-term injury, and they can go out and replace him. But I mean, you know, that's a big ticket. He's making over $5 million, and at best, you know, after his injury problems, maybe a bottom pairing guy, but that's about it. I don't see anything like that.
Yeah. And the one thing I want to throw out before we do get off of here is this question. I think that's really interesting to me is that is Ovechkin starting to lose his competitive edge and accept the fact that he's not going to win things? I
just think he'll get blamed.
He will get blamed, but there was a very weird sense of the World Cup of Hockey with him. For whatever it is, I felt as if, you know, I think he was very unhappy on the team. First off, I'll say that.
Yeah, I think that's how Team Russia runs things, and it saps the life out of some of their stars.
Yeah, and it really sapped the life out of him. He might come in just, you know, loaded for bear and ready to kill, and that would be good for him. Obviously, that's what he needs to do. But he really hated. You could tell he hated that team. He hated the way he was playing. Yeah. I mean, I heard Russian players say all the time, "Why don't we have an NHL coach?" That kind of thing. That was to them. They didn't have an NHL coach, and the other coaches were NHL coaches.
And I think you put your finger on it. I think that's the real problem, is the fact that every time he plays internationally for Russia, they're playing with, like, they have one hand tied behind their back because they're not matching up to Babcock, or they're not matching up to Ralph Kruger. They're not even matching up to John Tortorella, if you can believe it.
Well, I can't, but yep, we'll start there. We'll be back again tomorrow for sure. My clock is an hour off. I think that's pretty hilarious. I don't know why. I guess maybe time changed while I was away and no one told me. We'll be back tomorrow. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We'll be previewing 3 teams tomorrow. I don't think we picked them yet. So
no, one of them will be the Islanders, because we'll have Dan on the show.
Okay, we'll do the Islanders tomorrow. The Islanders are that's gonna be a fun team to watch. So check out that too. There's a lot going on, and enjoy the games tonight. And remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you soon.